This episode is brought to you by Red Riding Hood, the manga-inspired take on the classic fairy tale for readers grades K through 2, written by Christina Oxtra. In Red Riding Hood, readers review the classic story in a brand new way, with twists in the story, more diverse characters, and featuring Japanese aesthetics incorporated throughout. Red Riding Hood is part of a series published by Capstone and written by various artists with unique takes on your childhood favorites. Look out for Red Riding Hood, available on Amazon and your local bookstores. Congratulations, Christina, on your first published book. The link is in the show description.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Boss Rush Podcast. I'm your host, the enlightened and excited ADV. Joining me is the gunner hunter himself, Mr. LeRon Dawkins.
How's it going, everybody?
Yes, and the party meister that you want to log into. Everybody, welcome Logan.
What's up, yo? What's up? What's happening, yo?
Yes, these two are from our latest podcast, Crossroads, our PlayStation podcast that you guys could check out on Tuesdays. They are such a great group, definitely with Nelly also. They talk all things PlayStation. They literally fit the Boss Rush mode because they'll sometimes get off a topic and just have good discussions and laughter. But the show is hosted by LeRon, Logan, and Nelly, and sometimes special guests. So do check them out, guys. Support them. Subscribe to Boss Rush Podcast on YouTube and check them out on Twitter at Boss Rush Games. And check them out on YouTube. I think on Thursdays the recorded version goes, but also check them out on Twitch on Boss Rush Podcast or Boss Rush Games to check them out live. So how you guys doing? I know we got a lot to cover, but how are you guys doing this week?
I've been playing catch up from the unplanned holiday, and I say unplanned because I was going on this month that there was no national holiday, so my work schedule. So I put a whole bunch of work stuff on for Monday, and then basically everybody that I had to do work for was closed, so I had to compact my schedule into Tuesday, and I've been working all week. It's been nothing but IT and computer stuff all week. I barely had time to game.
What about you, Loki?
I've been on vacation since Wednesday, and so I've been sinking my teeth into Avengers and having so much fun with that game, loving every second of it. And then yesterday was really just a good day to kind of unplug. Didn't do any projects, didn't even turn on my PlayStation, which I was kind of happy about for one day. Just hang out with the family, get to play with my nieces and nephews, and then go see my sister for a little bit. It was great. Yeah.
Yes, and everybody, the Snack Tendo special extra edition is coming for you from the Mountain Dew Voodoo. It tastes like Skittles. It's so good. I already bought 4 of them. And they're just so good.
Bring back the freaking Mountain Dew that was out when the Star Wars prequels were out. It was a purple one. It tasted like the freaking Shock Tarts.
Is it the Black Mountain Dew Black? Is it grape?
I don't believe. Well, I know the can was black. I know the can was black for sure, but I don't think they called it Mountain Dew Black. It has some funky, like you know how they.
No.
It wasn't Voltage. Oh wait. No, because Voltage.
Voltage is the orange one, I think.
Yeah. No.
The Livewire is the orange one. Voltage is a blue one.
Yeah, Mountain Dew Black is the purple one that tastes like grape.
They have grape Shock Tarts.
There was Shark Bite. That was cool.
That wasn't it. I'll have to look at discontinued flavors of Mountain Dew. As a matter of fact, I'm doing it right now. Discontinued Mountain Dew flavors.
Because I'm rocking a Code Red right now.
I love Code Red.
Have you guys had the Maui Burst?
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Oh, dude, that one's phenomenal.
Okay, so this is a mad thing I'm about it. It's only at like Dollar General here in Illinois. It's like the dollar store, and it's only the can one. I'm like, I need a 12-pack of this. It's so good.
It's so freaking good.
Oh,
it's incredibly underrated.
Mountain Dew Pineapple. Who would have ever thought that works?
Pitch Black. That's what it was.
Pitch Black. Okay.
Pitch Black.
Shouldn't that be coming back for Halloween?
Maybe
It's the purple one, right?
Yeah, it's purple.
Yeah. Okay. So they set it up.
It was marketed as a citrus and dark fruit flavor.
So they sell. I think they still sell it here in Illinois, and because right up the street, at the gas station, they have it.
Mm-hmm.
Pitch Black was the one. Okay, so remember like 2 years ago, Mountain Dew was doing a contest of vote for Pitch Black or Baja Blast, and whichever one they did, they were going to keep it in. And those can I curse on this show?
Yes, you can.
Those motherfuckers did not pick Baja Blast. Baja Blast is life changing. It's the whole reason I go to Taco Bell.
I do like Baja Blast, but like I overdosed on that. Just like when Doritos introduced Cool Ranch, I overdosed on those so bad that's like the only time I think the Cool Ranch Doritos flavor tastes good is on the Cool Ranch Locos Tacos.
Yes. Oh, those Dorito wow. So good. But everybody, I know we're going to that's why I said it was a bonus Nintendo because you guys going to have to check in Monday for Nintendo Power Block, because when we go live, I am doing a taste test for Snacktendo, so you guys will be able to see me eating some bagels and eating some Ritz crackers. And, I'm going to be tasting stuff for the first time live and giving my reactions. So you want to tune in to that. But everybody, this is episode 62 of the Boss Rush Podcast. Each and every week we come together to talk about games and everything we love about them with our friends. You can join us live on Saturdays at 1:30 p.m. on twitch.tv/BossRushGames live and be part of the conversation. But if you can't join us live, no big deal. You can head over to youtube.com/BossRushGames and BossRushGames.com to watch the show on your listening on podcast services of choice. We're going to have to rewrite that. Remember to subscribe, follow, rate, and review wherever you consume us. It helps us out with discoverability, and check out our family of shows wherever you listen to our podcast or your podcast of choice. And everybody, we're not going to do a gaming get down this week due to the fact that Microsoft, after a leak happened, just threw out everything. So Series X is going to be $499.99. Series S, which is their digital system, is going to be $299.99. Both are going to be released on November 10th. The pre-order date for those systems are September 22nd, but there is also a payment plan. So if you want to do, you could do $25 or you could do $35 for 2 years. And the question that I actually have to you guys, and I'm going to get your thoughts first on what you guys think about the announcements. But is the ball in Sony's court, or does Microsoft still need to dribble some of their marketing on why Series X and Series S needs to be in your household? Logan, I'm gonna start with you. What are your thoughts about the announcement, and who got the kind of advantage at this time?
I think this is a great move by Xbox, and the fact that Microsoft confirmed everything within 2 or 3 hours of the initial tweet was a great way to get ahead of it. I mean, leaks happen, and with Microsoft, it seems like it's happening a lot more this year, but this is a great thing. Get out there. The S is a great option. I was talking about it on one of Land Party's podcasts today. That's the console I'm going to buy for Xbox. I'm not going to get the X because I'm obviously going to get the PS5, but I'm going to keep the S because Xbox has so many great things going for it. The problem, I think, and this is why I think Sony still has the advantage, is we have no idea what we're going to be playing on the Xbox Series S at launch. I mean, Cyberpunk, obviously, but they don't have a ton of exclusives hitting the console right away. Meanwhile, we know Ratchet & Clank and Spider-Man Miles Morales are both coming for PS5. And so there's the advantage I have there. When I saw the announcement go live this morning about Sony having their press conference on Wednesday, it was I was seeing tweets of, okay, the big boys are finally coming to play. Okay, that's cool. But as great as we think of, I can't say enough great things about Microsoft at this point. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm just a PlayStation fanboy. I actively play my Xbox, though. I've played it, religiously. When it comes to if there's news I want to hear and it's news that I think is relevant and I care about more, it's obviously Sony. But Xbox has done so many things to at least get me to pay attention to their stuff. And I think the Xbox Series S is the perfect move. The price points are better than I thought they were going to be. I mean, $300 for the Series S makes this console more affordable to everybody. I mean, parents are going to pick console up now for their kids. I would be shocked to see what the X versus S numbers end up being, because I think the S is probably going to sell a little bit better than the X.
I'm gonna hold my thoughts, LeRon. I don't know. I kind of want to hear your thoughts. Okay, basically, I'm in the same mode as Logan. It's unfortunate that a leak basically forced Microsoft to force their hand. I was having some conversations with some friends right after all this came out, and I was like, man, like the ultimate game of chicken. Ultimately, Microsoft had to lose that because somebody leaked info. But I mean, like that fantastic price of $299.99 for like that base console, I think that kind of puts Sony in a position where they may have to figure something out, because now we know all the prices are out, and I don't think a lot of people were expecting $299.99. In all honesty, I don't think a lot of people were. I think people were expecting the base system to be $399.99 and the big system to be $499.99. That's the way I think. But ultimately, with that big of a price gap between the two systems, if anything, Microsoft kind of puts himself in the sweet spot, because if people just wind up buying the Series S, it still moves hardware for them, because a lot, and then it becomes down to like basically the hardcore gamers are going to get the Series X, and everybody else is casual is going to get the Series S. This is a brilliant marketing strategy, in all honesty, because it puts an Xbox in every system. So, if you're not a PC gamer and you don't have access to Game Pass, you can spend the money and get the Series S, or you can do the Xbox All Access thing, which I think we're going to talk about in a little bit. Are we? Yeah. Okay. Or you can do that, and in 18 to 24 months, just upgrade to the Series X, if you choose.
Okay. So, who do you think got the advantage at this point? Let me get that out of the way.
And the only reason I'm only saying Xbox has the advantage right now is because we have all the news from Xbox, and I think I shared with you. I shared with the Boss Rush team earlier that basically the entire we thought the leaks were done from whatever was going on with Microsoft, and then someone blew up their spot and put the leak of their entire show they have planned for next week is already out there. So it's like man, y'all have a saboteur or something. So right now, I feel like Microsoft has the edge right now because we have all the news. We know what's going on. We're no longer, as consumers, we're no longer left in the dark. Now we've seen how Sony is very reactive, and when Sony reacts, it's always in the gamer's favor. So I guarantee you they probably found out whoever dropped the leaks of the prices and already gave them a substantial like little side check or something like that, because now Sony is in this crazy position to where like, hey, like we can just undercut Microsoft again. We were afraid Microsoft was going to undercut us, which is why we were taking so long. Oh, and let's be honest, we know this is why Sony was taking so long. They knew that Microsoft was trying to wait them out because to undercut the price, because everybody already knows the Series X is already ready to ship. They already know that. It's just and I think the conjecture from tech insiders was that Sony is 60% ready right now for their launch, whereas Microsoft is ready to go.
Well, okay, so when we're talking about the All Access Pass, my thing about it is I don't think you need it for the Series S. For Series X, I believe so. That would work better, because the thing about it is that with Series S, anyone who has a physical, like me, I can't do Series S because I have a big collection that I have invested in with Microsoft. So I have about 60 plus some games physically for Microsoft. Same thing that I have with PlayStation, that I have to get the physical because I have 60 plus some games for that system. And so $300 should be at this time be able to save up for it to get an S if you need it. Now, if you are getting Game Pass for S, that's literally fine. But if you're going to be spending that $60 to $70 to get new games, there's no need. I would say wait build up that $60-$70 and then get the S so you can start buying those new games instead of trying to do a payment plan and then actually by time you could have paid the system off, you already probably got about 4 or 5 games on the system because S is not backwards compatible. So unless you're going, and depending on definitely how GameStop is closing stores, if you have a lot of physical games, you better find out on how to get rid of them. Because if you don't, you're going to be stuck with all of these games that you can't play on the system if you don't plan on getting the 500. You also got to make sure that your TV is ready to get the benefit of what Microsoft is showing. And definitely even with Sony, you got to be ready for 4K. You got to be ready to, do the 120 frames and everything like that. Because I think right now, the 60 frames, 120 stuff is just marketing talk until we actually see it. Those won't come in until next year. Yeah. I think if we get 120, that's for Ori and the Blind Forest and stuff like that. Yeah. We're not going to get 120 in Cyberpunk. You can get that on PC, but you're not going to get that on X Series X. There is no way that you're going to get up to 120 without it having frame problems and stuff. Yeah. Definitely with Control. Control is a technical mess. Yeah. And if you try to get that thing to 60 frames per second, I want to see what happens after you get out the pause menu and that thing stops freezing.
Out the pause menu.
You're gonna start your Xbox Series X and it's just gonna sound like the PS4 Pro. It's just gonna take off like the jet engine that it is.
Yeah. So I think definitely for me, because with my job, I get paid 3 times in October. So I'll have 500 already set, 500 plus tax already set aside to get Series X. Our controllers that we have for Xbox Ones already work with that system. So that's saving on.
I am so happy about that.
Yes, that saves on accessories. You can't really do it with PlayStation 5, but with the announcement like you talked about, Logan, September 16, if they said, hey, you can't connect your PlayStation 4 with PlayStation 5 to use for the games if you want to, bam, that's literally awesome if they decide to do that too.
But I don't think they are, because they are putting so much of an emphasis on this marketing campaign about the DualSense.
Yes.
And the DualSense is the new way. Like, there's so many cool things. Another thing that went low-key untalked about this week that Xbox announced, I think it's actually the coolest thing that they did, was so PlayStation's been pushing this 360 audio, right? And that's what our headsets are going to be built around. But then Microsoft one-upped it and said, hey, Dolby Atmos, that's on the X and the S. Dolby Atmos is absolutely incredible. Like my iPod Pros, my AirPod Pros are going to be, they have Atmos coming to them here in a few weeks. But if you've ever sat in an Atmos theater, for instance, that's 365 different channels, different pinpoints of audio that can come at you at any given second. That is such a cool thing. And I love that this is a huge emphasis. And Microsoft just stole the biggest advantage in that level field just right out for PlayStation. But PlayStation, they're gonna come out and they're gonna say, "Hey, look, I'm changing my price up. I think 450 is what they're gonna try to go for."
I'm gonna say,
I'm gonna say this because I was thinking of when me and you was talking, LeRon. I was like $449 for the physical, $249 for the. I was thinking.
Yes.
For some reason, I was thinking $300 for some wrong price.
And you know what's crazy though? If Sony comes out with a $249.99 price tag for their base system, that's going to cause Nintendo to shift their prices. That's going to cause Nintendo to shift their prices because the Switch has been. Wait, did the Switch launch at $299?
$300. Yeah, $399.
Okay, I thought at one point it was like $349 or something like that. Okay, so the Switch has always been.
No. Yeah, it's always been $300, hasn't it?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, but this would actually have to force Nintendo's hand because Nintendo has been coasting. As a matter of fact, Nintendo has basically first party their console the way they first party their games. Their games are always $60 and never drops. I mean, wait, is it $60 now? Yeah, universally $60, and they never drop. They never drop. And then you're like me and want to commit harakiri when you find out like a really good game that was first party. They lost their minds and dropped it down to $32, and it was a flash sale for like 2 days, right. And it's like, yeah, so
So LeRon,
those price points, man.
so LeRon, me and Corey was talking in Celeste. We was talking on Power Block. We were talking about Switch Pro and everything, and we think that the price drop is going to happen. Like if they price drop Lite and they price drop the regular Switch, like
the Lite won't get price drop. The reason why the Lite won't get price drop is because it's too new and they're still trying to make up for the gap. You know, every company has a monetary gap when their consoles release.
It's Nintendo. Like you were talking about the mini SKUs of the 3DS. I think that Switch Lite XL is going to happen. So they'll drop the original one to like $179 or something, and make the new price point for Switch Lite.
Do we need an XL of the Switch Lite? Do
we really don't. We really don't. We really don't.
It's literally Nintendo, because me and Corey were just like, we was talking about Switch Pro taking over the 300 price point with a bigger screen, the new controllers, and all of that stuff, and then they dropped down like for $199 the regular Switch. So once it gets out of stock, that's it. Now you got XL for Lite, and now you got Pro, and they're going to go on probably for 2 or 3 more years before their next system comes on. We were saying from Nintendo's perspective, because that's what they kind of like to do. Oh, go ahead, Logan.
That's what I was thinking. Like, okay, what if the Switch Pro came out at $350, and like say that's the area they feel comfortable there? Then your regular Switch goes down to $250, and then you could do the Switch Lite at $175, and then everybody has. At some point, there's a price point where you can afford all 3 consoles. Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, for $600, you could effectively have a Switch Lite. You could have maybe the base model PS5, and then maybe the base model Xbox Series S.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's not bad at all.
And jump back on the 3D audio that you was talking about, Logan. I probably froze. The 3D audio that you was talking about, Logan. Sony is about sound. To me personally, I don't trust Microsoft with their sound. I trust more Sony because I have always and I'm gonna say
shots
this
fired.
And I'm gonna say this. I don't reason because Sony is a sound company. They have been one of the best companies that deals with sound, in my personal opinion. If I do any kind of sound thing, I do Sony, because I get crystal clear stuff. And I will pay that money for it, but I trust that their quality will last longer than anybody else's.
But I think Xbox realizes that, and that's why they formed a partnership with Atmos. I mean, you look across the board, Atmos is just tested off the charts really well. AMC has got one of the most lucrative partnerships with Dolby out there. And I think the cool thing about that too is that it allows for Xbox, which has these big cinematic moments, you know, as you play through Halo, you want that big, huge audio, and that's exactly what Atmos does. I think Xbox is going to be better off on the audio system than we realize. I think they might even be better than Sony on that. And again, this is coming from the biggest Sony fanboy in Boss Rush. Like, I mean, Xbox is going to beat us at that. I have no doubt about that.
I would love to see a YouTube channel dedicate to sound, hearing between games, and that's mostly like third-party games and stuff, and be like, just like, okay, if you play this through Sony's 3D audio, this is what you hear, and let them give the review in their opinion. This is what you hear from Atmos, because my thing, hearing Gears on Microsoft, like hearing Gears 5 now through a headset is bunkers good. But same thing by hearing like God of War, it's just like, this is crazy good too. So the sound engineering is going to be on point for either system, but I think it's going to depend on the hardware that you're using.
That's true.
Like the accessories, like the headphones and stuff. And I, like I said, I trust Sony more because I have used more of their products over Microsoft. I'm not knocking Microsoft with the sound thing, but I got to, because like a cyber, like my thing is this: Forza 7 or Forza Horizon 5, if they got a banging soundtrack, I need to hear that as the best audio that it needs to be. Horizon Zero Dawn, I want to hear everything crystal clear, like ridiculously good. Horizon 2, I said on PS5.
Oh man,
whatever Breath of the Wild. Dude, whatever Nintendo wants to do with their sound, they can do whatever, and let that be that. But like,
Nintendo's just gonna ship you a little crappy pair of headphones like this and be like, "Hey, this is our version of Atmos."
You gotta run into the Nintendo app to use it. Yes, I could knock at
you
Nintendo.
Can't talk to anybody when you play online.
But Yeah, I think right now, like I would say is Sony's court. I think Microsoft still has a little bit more to do. But it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be a great holiday. But we just gotta play everything literally by ear. And it depends on what games that everybody is planning to get. I know for Xbox, me and Jesse are doing the medium. For PlayStation 5, I'll be doing Ratchet and Clank. I really want Resident Evil 8, and I really want Horizon. Kenna got moved to next year, so I could wait for that. But like, if they come up with some strong indies and third party for PlayStation 5, I think they'll still have it on lock. Nintendo has already got my money. I already pre-ordered Super Mario 3D World. I'm already getting Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I'm already planning on getting Hyrule Warrior. And shout out to Boss Man Corey. We've been talking about a Breath of the Wild trilogy, and he said if actual Breath of the Wild 3 don't happen, we already have our trilogy, because that Age of Calamity trailer was like, well, Series X, Series what? What about Microsoft? And I literally just gagged. And the the gay version of my bisexuality he came out. It was just like, yes. So, but yeah, that's going to be our little discussion. There's going to be more talk about it on Arsenal X. So guys, do check that out on Sunday. But we have the Ubisoft forward to the next game presentation, because Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake or retake.
Retake.
Immortals Phoenix. That game looks a hot mess. I'm sorry. Immortals Phoenix Rising, aka Kid Icarus Odyssey. Watch Dogs Legion with Aiden Pierce and
way too long.
I don't know about this Ubisoft presentation. Any thoughts, y'all? Because yes, Immortals look good, but then play that James Bond funk thing. I'm like, wait a minute, what is? I'm like, you can't do the same thing that you use for Watchdog Legions, and then do the same thing close to a game that's in Greek mythology. Like that doesn't work. But thoughts about Ubisoft Forward.
All right, well, let me go first, because this would be really easy. I didn't catch a whole lot of it, actually. I was bogged down with a whole bunch of work stuff. So a lot of the stuff, if I didn't catch it in my feed, if I didn't catch it in my feed, I wasn't able to actually tune into a lot of it. So the only thing I really saw was the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake, and that's what they're calling a remake right now. And I would just say, based off of what I saw, even though it got me hype. Because Sands of Time was one of my favorite games. As a matter of fact, it was my very first Prince of Persia game. Very first one. And it's crazy because that game has a legacy that goes all the way back to the Commodore 64.
LeRon, okay, this is the crazy thing. Now that I'm thinking about it, doesn't Sands of Time remind you of Batman Arkham Asylum?
Oh,
the way that you run.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. It popped in my mind. I was just like, wait a minute, this is where this came from. I forgot all about it.
You know what? Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That puts a whole new spin on it. So what I will say is, like I said, the trailer got me hyped, and we've been rumor milling that. We even rumor controlled that on our very first Crossroads podcast. We rumor controlled that one because we were like, hold on, and but the reason why we didn't debunk the rumor was because the source at the time was really trusting the games industry. So we're like, hey, who was the source again? I forgot the name.
It was Jason Schreier.
Yeah. Usually Schreier is like Ben Stein in the fight. Finances Ben Stein. When he talks when he talks money, you need to listen. So when Schreier's talking game industry, you may want to sit back and and see what he's doing. So with the Prince of Persia remake, like I said, I enjoyed it, but the main thing I was like, man, is it me or does it seem like they just upscaled footage from the original game? Are they even remaking this or what? But that might be because Ubisoft has learned. Ubisoft has learned about overdoing their franchises when they're announcing them. Because remember the E3 the reveal of Watch Dogs?
Yes.
That game, you know what? That game, I will say one thing about Watch Dogs. That game actually helped both Microsoft and Sony sell systems because it looked so next gen that everybody was like, I got to get the console.
And then the funny thing is Mario Kart destroyed it the month after. Like it ran a train on Watch Dogs. I'm sorry. Oh, and everybody ask, excuse me, Prince of Persia is not garbage. It has questionable content right now.
Questionable content. There's that phrase. But yeah, honestly, right now I'm favoring the Prince of Persia remake. The only problem is like y'all need to do more work, baby. Y'all, I mean, y'all can't remaster this, and basically looks like glorified PS3 and Xbox 360 graphics. Yeah. Ubisoft, we are literally 3 console generations. By the time Prince of Persia comes out, we'll be 3 PS2. Okay, so PS3, PS4, we'll be in PS5. We'll be literally 3 console generations away from where this game is at. You do not reskin us a PS2 game and think that we're going to spend like the whole full dollar value for it. Especially when it seems like right now they didn't announce a lot for it, but right now it seems like it's just going to be the game. There's not going to be any new content. There's not going to be any changes to the battle mechanics. There's not going to be additional lore. Because technically there really shouldn't be a lot of additional lore because if the game does well for them, like they have the green light to do the 2 sequels. They have the green light.
Warrior Within and
whatever was the second one, Warrior Within, because that was the one. That was the one that disappointed me so bad.
Yeah, because they decided to go dark with that one.
Well, no, it wasn't even that. Like the game was they just did a bad job. They just did a bad job developing it. Because the one thing I remember for sure is like all the audio was all out of sync.
I still because I have since the time for GameCube, and then Warriors Within, and then that third one on Xbox. I had.
Yeah, so that's about the most I can give you about my take on the Ubisoft event, because the only thing I saw was Prince of Persia. Honestly, I didn't see much else. I'm on Twitter all the time. I didn't see a lot of people like hyping or tweaking or doing anything else. And I remember seeing the conversation that everybody was talking about where who was the developer? He got cut off and he was the one that was highlighting the whole thing.
Vez, who's the CEO? Yeah,
CEO. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know why I said developer.
Oh, you missed. Oh, what about you, Logan?
3 of the 5 things that they talked about, I'm totally in for. I totally love. I think it's great. You kick off with Immortals: Phoenix Rising. Okay, I'm not a huge fan of the new name. It looks like Breath of the Wild. But it looks like seeing the gameplay in the post show is like, okay, this game could be really freaking good. I wasn't impressed by Prince of Persia. I thought that was just it looked like a little bit better lighting, and I'm sorry, lighting doesn't constitute a whole remake. If this game is anything over $40, it won't sell. Oh yeah, that's just how I'm feeling right now. You got Scott Pilgrim in there. I freaking love that. I thought that was a really cool way for that game to come back to the PS4. I thought that was cool. Go ahead. I can tell
no, because I still have it on my PS3, and I never got a chance to beat in that game. Castle Crashers took all my time away from that. But yeah, I'm glad that they announced Scott Pilgrim because I'm gonna buy it on Switch. I'm sorry. I'll probably buy it on Xbox. Knowing me, I'll probably buy it on all 3 systems to make sure cover my bases.
I'm telling you, games like that always have a home on the Switch, as far as I'm concerned, because like I'm guaranteed to buy that retro-y like stuff like that.
Watch Dogs Legion. If anything, this conference heard it, in my opinion. You showed us the same footage we've seen now 3 times. The addition of the Stormzy, that's cool. I thought that was kind of a cool touch, but like that part of the conference went on way too long, especially when the tweet comes out saying, hey, we were really pressed for time, so we had to cut the statement about how we really messed up as a company. We had to cut that out of this conference to make room for Watch Dogs Legion? I mean, you could have easily taken that out and left that off.
It's classic Ubisoft though. Like when Ubisoft thinks they have like the goose that lays the golden egg, they run it to death, even if it's something we've seen like 17 trillion times previously. It's the same stuff a lot of times. I mean, what was another game? I'll give them credit though. They haven't run that Beyond Good and Evil into the ground. Like I think I've only seen it once.
We don't even know what that game is.
It is.
Yeah. And it's crazy because they announced that a movie's coming out, and now everybody's like, okay, which one will come out first, the movie or the game?
I'm just confused with Beyond Good and Evil 2. Is this supposed to be a prequel to the first game, or is this going to be a side? Like, what are they doing? Like, this whole message about that game is a jumble mess.
I thought we were going to get something. And what I would have preferred Ubisoft do is they were smart to leave Valhalla off this, because I think if you push Valhalla again, like that's even more than we needed. If they had left Watch Dogs off, you could have given us an update on, hey, what the heck is Skull and Bones doing? Because we haven't heard about that game in about.
They restarted that whole production. That whole game.
How about get the creative director on camera for like 3 minutes saying, hey, we've heard your feedback from the alpha test we were a part of, and it didn't go well.
So I think he or someone at Ubisoft made a tweet about that and said that we restarted the whole project over. Skull and Bones is something completely different than what you guys expect. It's been delayed, so please just give us time to work on it. And they did a tweet about it. I'm like, and I just happened to see it because somebody retweeted it. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah. And then they could have gotten like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who's working with Hit Record. They could have gotten him on screen to talk about Beyond Good and Evil 2, of saying, hey, submit your hey, we need voice actors for this section, or we need this, we need that. Plug Hit Record, do all that, show off your partnership. That works a little bit better. But then Ubisoft.
Okay. Go. Finish your statement.
Ubisoft finished so freaking strong, though, because they showcased a game that I knew was in development, but we didn't know exactly what it was going to be. Rough Riders is freaking a genius way to close this thing out. It's steep, but in the spring and summertime, and so you've got bicycles, you got Moto X, and then you still have snowboarding, you still have skiing, and it's this big open world. I was so freaking impressed with Rough Riders. I was like, this is the Ubisoft I love, because I beta tested, I tested Steep for about 2 years before it got into release. And so seeing how far Ubisoft has taken that kind of concept of this open world, create your own trails, create your own tricks, do your own runs, be creative with it. Seeing that now in a summer and springtime game is going to be just an absolute blast. I cannot wait for that game.
Yeah, I think that this one could have been better. Like I gotta go to the list of all the E3 conference, because I think this one would be the last one before Tokyo Game Show. I know that's something completely different. I'm going to be watching that while I'm on vacation, giving my impressions about that. But yeah, this Ubisoft one, they literally just, I don't know. It was good for what it is, but I'm just like, y'all got beaten by Microsoft's first showcase when everybody didn't like it. So we're going to move forward because
moving forward on Ubi forward.
Yes, because goodness gracious, 505 games number is up. They can only do upgrades, but they control it. So what I mean by that, everybody, is some PlayStation 4 owners who owned the original version of Control digitally kind of got upgraded to the Ultimate Edition after 505 Games said they couldn't do it. But 505 Games found out, and they took it all back. And now they're kind of quiet, and now people are upset and mad at 505 Games, and now they are saying that they are completely greedy for putting out this Ultimate Collection, and saying that's the only version, that's the only way that you could upgrade to Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. Someone said that Remedy Games should not work with 505 Games, and at this point in time, Remedy's in a position where they need a publisher. They can't do anything by themselves anymore. Like, they can't publish their own games. They could try and make their own games, but I really think they just a company that they always going to be having to rely on somebody to get their games out. And I think this 505 Games deal was bad.
So Remedy, if Sony comes with an offer, you better take it.
Take it.
Better take it.
Just take the money.
Okay.
We were talking about that last week on Crossroads.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a funny thing, LeRon? I think they need to get with Nintendo and let Remedy do Eternal Darkness too. And the only reason why, because I think Nintendo will help Remedy make their games better. In a sense, I think Nintendo will go in and really QA a lot of that stuff that they design. Because for some unknown reason, Remedy games feel like they're never quality controlled or quality assisted. Maybe Quantum Break is probably an exception. Everything else that they have made, I think Nintendo would just be like, look, we love what you guys are going for and doing. Let's make this better, because we want to make sure that when we release this project and you're releasing the Nintendo project with our money, you about to give them the best quality ever.
You know what? I like that logic, actually. I do. But for some strange reason, I feel like they would have better control over their own
Yes.
stuff if Sony makes them an offer.
Oh yes. If they want to do the Remedy verse with Sony, go right ahead. I would be there day one to buy it. But like, if they're going to do a project, they need some money, go with Nintendo. I would
Go for it, Logan.
I'm going to sound like a jerk saying this. I'm going to really sound like, don't hate me. I think Nintendo holds Remedy back from a technologically technological standpoint. Remedy or Nintendo holds them back. When you can create the graphics that you can for both either Microsoft or Sony, and you have the different advances with the audio system and all that cool stuff, I think Remedy likes the look and the aesthetics of their games, and like how it is kind of this amazing special effect phenomenal that they create. I think if you're looking at your future and saying these are the artists and the illustrators that we bring into our company, and we want to be able to showcase their work in the best way, I think you do that on Sony and specifically on Microsoft.
I agree. For their projects, the thing about it is that their projects sometimes have a lot of quality problems, and even though your look at everything is great, if you still are having technical problems, that ruins the quality in a sense. And I'm not saying that Remedy isn't Control looks beautiful.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Before the game came out, I was just like, I want that. Like, I was literally ready to get Control on PlayStation with the quick. If they would have dropped Control only for PlayStation as an exclusive, I would have been straight buying it then and there.
But like, look at Guerrilla. Like, Guerrilla was having issues with Killzone left and right, and then when they said, "Screw it, we're gonna redo who we are," and then come out with Horizon. And Horizon, I get it; it doesn't have an online aspect to it, so it's a little bit easier to not have the bugs. Horizon just reset them, and it was because Sony was helping look over their shoulder a little bit and creating that partnership.
I will say. I just want to circle back real fast about Nintendo and Remedy. You kind of set this up yourself when you said how like Control just had so many like technological problems and stuff like that. And I agree with Logan. Like, basically, if Remedy does wind up becoming a third party studio exclusively for Nintendo, they're looking at situations where they would have to. It sounds bad to say dumb down their tech, but with Nintendo's QA practice and stuff like that, like this is the reason why certain games just wind up looking a certain way or having a certain feel when it comes to Switch. I applaud like games that have come to Switch that we thought would not become the Switch, like The Witcher, and games like Alien Isolation, stuff like that, and Burnout Paradise. Like I almost spent money on Burnout Paradise again on the Switch, but I was like,
no, I didn't buy it yet. I need to.
But I was like, you know what? I would wind up playing it more in handheld mode than docked mode, and so that kind of threw it all off of me. But okay, back to you, Ed.
And I was saying more of working on a Nintendo property with Remedy. Whatever Remedy wants to make, that's why I said go with Sony or Microsoft, go with someone big, but work with Nintendo because this is the platinum thing about it. I always use this. Some people might find the excuse. Platinum literally didn't get their recognition until Bayonetta 2. And even though Nintendo let Platinum do their own thing, Nintendo came in and be like, no, you need to fix this. Here's some ideas. Okay, we'll leave and you let you guys go. And Bayonetta 2 got platinum recognition where Activision and everybody else who wants to work with them got these great platinum games. Well, some of them, because the core game and the Ninja Turtle game, no.
I feel like I need to have an argument on that one because here's my thing. Platinum games already had their recognition out there. These are guys who came from defunct Capcom studios like Clover Studios, stuff like that. They had their recognition, and trust me, like the original, or the first runs of games they did, like Bayonetta and some of those other games, man, like they were already on the map. If anything, Nintendo just gave them the opportunity to finish some of the stuff that they wanted to do, which is why we got Bayonetta 2. Bayonetta 2 helped move a bunch of Switch systems because that was the first game I bought when I bought my Switch brand new. That was the first game, and I already had Bayonetta, so it wasn't even like I needed Bayonetta. I needed Bayonetta just to have Bayonetta 2 for a Switch. But the thing I think. And we talked about this on the very first Crossroads podcast. Was that what's probably gonna happen is like we're gonna see Nintendo lose some of that chokehold it has on Platinum's properties, which is why like Bayonetta 3 will probably come out on the Switch, but then we're gonna see Bayonetta 2 finally show up on other consoles and the PC. And that's whatever contract, because I think right now Nintendo's lenient with contracts. Oh yeah,
well, just
good for
Nintendo
them.
Nintendo third-party contracts are a weird one because it's like there's not a huge like. It's not lucrative to go directly to the Switch, right? Like it's cool to come to it later. It's better to come to PC, Xbox, or Sony first, and then come to the Switch. Like The Witcher, like all these other games have done.
And this is the thing about it. You just said Nintendo second party kind of third party kind of thing. You see that Nintendo only exclusively work more with Japanese developers than America.
That's true.
The only American company, because they own Retro Studios, they're the only ones that use, besides Cadence of Hyrule and whoever made Good Job. And Ubisoft is Europe, but that's more third party because they make their own games.
I think the reason why. Oh, go ahead. No. Finish. I'm sorry.
No, they haven't went to BioWare. They haven't went to CD Projekt Red. They haven't went to no American studios in this month. In fact, we already know that they've been using with Japanese developers because of what they did with Namco for Soul Calibur 2, what they did with Tecmo with Tekken Tag Tournament, how you got that big character with looking like Waluigi and stuff. Like they have been using, like they have more of a good partnership with Namco than anybody else.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll say no. You're onto something though, because like they do work better with Japanese third parties, but that's also because like we gotta look, man. Like Nintendo kind of hurt themselves with third party studios worldwide, starting with the Wii. They hurt, and the Wii U didn't fix anything. Like a lot of studios now that we see third party that are not Japanese companies, they're ones taking a chance. This is why we saw like CD Projekt Red titles show up. This is why we saw Alien Isolation show up. Which is why we're seeing a little bit more and a little bit more. I'm pretty sure the next. I guarantee you, the next BioWare game, which is probably going to be Dragon Age 4, will show up on the Switch.
And this is. I kind of want to counter argument that real quick, LeRon. And the only reason why is because yes, third party wasn't working with Nintendo because third party studios was closing left and right during the PlayStation 3 and 360. If they didn't sell a certain million kind of sales, that studio was closed. That's because us as consumers, we allowed EA, Activision, and other companies to dictate what type of games that we felt need to be delivered to us. That's a fault on us. We're crying now in 2020 about how like all these awesome studios are gone. Like, because I mean, hell, like I want Dead Space 4, but but we somehow allowed EA to think that a certain type of game is all we wanted, and that's on us, the gamers. So we have to take responsibility when these developers close, because I mean, like I said, Clover Studio, that was Okami. Yes. and Vita for Joe.
Yes.
Like, go ahead.
Oh no, I was actually finished.
Because I think you got a great point there, LeRon. Back at the PS3 and Xbox 360 day, that was when Sony and Microsoft were both thinking, what if we assemble a team together and we buy all these other studios? And that was when you started to see bigger and bigger things happen. But like right now, we're in a cool place where like at least once every 4 or 5 months, there's a huge game that comes from an indie. Fall Guys is a perfect example of that. Last year, Concrete Genie coming from Pixelopolis. Nobody saw that game being good. It comes out, it smashes.
Concrete Genie is crazy good.
It's so freaking good. Like, for a story-driven game with just absolutely insane visuals, Pixelopolis picked out, hey, how can we make this game attractive? And then just built one of the best games of last year. There's a reason it went on my top 10 exclusives for PS4 list, because I was like, this game wasn't given a chance by many. And then when you play it and you hear the heart behind this game and how Pixelopolis came up with this idea and how they wanted to portray it, like, these indie developers that can make a name for themselves, who can get to the point where Sony's like, or Sony, Microsoft, whoever it is like, yeah, we want you to be a part of our team. That's great. You're going to see more of like, look at it like the NBA. You're going to see these super teams get formed between Xbox and Sony. Right now, I think that's kind of the race that we're in, is Xbox is buying up what feels like a studio every 2 or 3 months right now. And Sony's out there with like one big name every 6 months, which is awesome. But they're building these huge teams that like on the PS5 and Xbox, like so many people were saying, when we were in that waiting period between when we knew or when we were waiting for news to come out for the Xbox Series X and PS5 was like, oh, the console war's dead. No, I don't think I think it's never been more alive, because now they're in just a pissing match for the exclusive. They want you to play together, yes, but like they also want you to have the game that you're only going to be able to play there.
Yeah.
So.
And
I think it's
I think that's why when it comes to first party, I don't call them first party exclusives. I just call them first party titles, because if they show up on PC or if they show up on Steam or something like that, that means that it's not exclusive to that brand. It's now more available. Yes, even like I say, even Nintendo stuff is not exclusive. It's more first party stuff, because I felt like if you put something on Wii U and it came on 3DS, it's on 2 systems. It's not exclusive anymore, regardless of what the graphics may be and everything. I feel, I understand. I listen, because man, when Ninja Theory got enough for Xbox, I almost fell out my bed. Like, what? Like, that blew everybody up on the internet.
I mean, look at how much Sony paid for Insomniac. I mean, that was one of the best acquisitions ever, and it was cheap. It was cheap compared to what I think Insomniac could have gotten.
Logan, this is the sad thing about it. Sony should have did that a long time ago.
Oh, they should have done that.
Oh, yes.
When we hear Insomniac, the first thing come out to Sony. Who played that? I own that EA game that Insomniac did, the shooter one. I for PS3.
I know. What's the name of that game? I know you're talking about. I can't remember the name.
Because they ended up EA made them end up changing what the game was from the original trailer that they showed.
Wait, was that System Shock?
No. System Shock is System Shock is
Titanfall was Respawn.
No, Insomniac did a game for EA. It was a 4-player co-op shooter. And when they showed the original trailer, it was like a goofy kind of thing that they was having. But they end up again with EA.
Was it Rocket? God, it just
it starts with an R, I think.
It's that dumb Rocket game, right? It's the Rock'em. It's supposed to look like Overwatch.
No, it was.
That was Cliff Blazinski's studio that you're thinking about.
It was like a third-person action game, almost like Gears of War.
Was it Overstrike?
Overstrike was the original name, but then they ended up changing it.
No, I thought it came out as Overstrike.
It may be. I mean, it's still Overstrike by EA.
Hold on. I'm going to Insomniac's page. Let's keep talking. I'll find out and I'll tell you in a second.
So, Sunset Overdrive is a fantastic game, but when we think of Insomniac, most of their games that they're known for is Sony, and so everybody literally was just waiting. When Sony bought them, it's just like, oh, finally.
It was Overstrike, and it turned it into Fuse.
That's it. Yes.
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 Yeah, Fuse came out in 2013 from EA, but it was developed by Insomniac. Yeah.
Yes. Because it turned to something that everybody was really interested in. Then they got Fuse, and I'm like, what is this basic average game? It was just average. So, yeah. So, any more discussion about this? Because we got a good analysis discussion that I had to ask you guys. Anything else?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Let's roll. Let's roll.
Okay, so our Boss Rush podcast analysis discussion. Do people take part in console war arguments / discussions because they own one or two games, or sitting on the sidelines hoping they could get a chance to play, meaning that get a chance to argue and just say stuff for
we live in America. People love to just say things.
Oh yeah, just
have you not been on Twitter?
Yeah. Just talking out their ass for no reason.
So me and Jesse, shout out to Jesse, our Wise Best Cousin tonight. He wasn't able to make it. We were talking about console war arguments, definitely with Series X and PlayStation 5, where everybody was just like, okay, play Sony, you got to say something. And everybody was just arguing that, Series X is vice versa, and Nintendo doesn't have no part in this. And it was just like, I kind of want to know that anyone who are making the console war arguments, because between back in the day, Nintendo and Sega, yes, that was a console war because it was Nintendo, Sega. We didn't care about Atari. Like, if you want the best of the best, you go into an arcade. But regardless of what you had at home, played on whatever. And now the medium and technology has advanced and changed. Having these console war arguments and stuff doesn't seem viable, but people want to have them. And it's just like, do you own one or two games? And if you do, is it the generalization, the Madden and the Call of Duty? Is it just because if you focusing your argument just on those two games, that's not good enough? And I say not the Last of Us Part 2. I say The Last Guardian is one of the PlayStation 4's best game, with Horizon Zero Dawn being second. I think for Xbox, I literally love Forza Horizon 4, with Quantum Break and RE being the second and third. I can't really say Hellblade because that's for everywhere. For Switch, I think right now it's such crazy that Breath of the Wild is still my number one at this time, with Mario Odyssey. But
the Mario Maker people will come for you.
That is true. But
then there's that 12-year-old who's like, man, Fortnite really defined this console.
But the thing about it is, I'm like playing Grease on Switch. I was just like, I may have to rethink some things, because Grease is good. And then like even just this year, like Murder by Numbers is a great game. Last of Us Part 2 is a great game. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is a great. Like there's some great games, but people still want to make the argument. And I wonder, from your guys' perspectives, do you think, if you're going to have this argument or this discussion, do you need to have more games, or do you think some people are just jumping in to get some attention or stir up some trouble?
I think if you play the best of that console, so like if we look back at the PS4, right? If you played through God of War, and if you played through, let's say, Ghost of Tsushima, right?
Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima.
If you played those 2 or 3 games, you can talk about the legitimacy of that console, because those 2 to 3 games are showcasing the best of that console. You're seeing the incredible audio and the visuals with God of War. You're seeing the swing mechanic that Insomniac built for Spider-Man, and you're just seeing how great an open world can feel on the PS4 in Ghost of Tsushima.
Mm-hmm.
It's different, I think, when you get to like Nintendo, because Nintendo, the 2 or 3 games, they play fairly similar. Like, you have to play a Breath of the Wild, then you have to play the Mario Kart, you have to play Super Smash, then you still have to play like what's Octopath Traveler? Like, play an off the chart kind of indie game like that. Or I think with Microsoft and with Sony, you can get away with 2 or 3 games. You can play the Master Chief Collection, you can play Sunset Overdrive, you can play Gears of War 5, cover the Xbox, and then you cover the PS5 or PS4 with God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, and Spider-Man.
Go ahead, LeRon.
I was gonna say, I feel like back in the old school days when it was Nintendo and Sega, and then by proxy, then it wound up being Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. I feel like there was a lot of validity between these console war arguments and stuff like that. But now, in my opinion, I feel like it's just really immature now to think about it, because if you just look across the entire spectrum from all the companies, so Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, if you look across the spectrum of all the games that come out, there's just great video games everywhere. And it's always going to be one of those situations where ultimately, like, if they can't win the argument based on the games, they'll try to win the argument based on how many units have been sold or how many millions of dollars has been raked in by these companies and stuff like that. Console war arguments, in my opinion, are just people who just want to just like puff out their chest for a second and say, "Hey, I beat this game and it was amazing," and heaven forbid it's like exclusive to that system. Then it's one of those situations where, when someone comes at me with a game that's was exclusive to Xbox, the first thing is like, I have a PC, man. I've already played that game. and basically just deflates that argument. They have to find something new to talk about it to try and bring their point back across. We can't, pretty soon PC gamers would be smug enough to tell PlayStation gamers like, "Hey, I have a PC. I played that game."
Right. And it's good that you mentioned stats. A lot of people want to use stats to be like, well, this system sold this much. Okay, this system sold this much. Then why the games are not meeting that system sales? You got almost 100 some sales, and Horizon only sold 10 million around the world. Bloodborne probably did the same thing. There's no way that you have 100 something and you only did 10% of that on your system. If people want to argue stats and stuff when it comes to console thing, just use that as for example.
It's also another weak sauce argument to go on because okay, everybody that owns a PlayStation, everybody that owns an Xbox, everybody that owns a Switch, they're not playing the same exact games. Like, Ed, I know about how extensive your library is, and I barely play the games that you play, but I'm not saying that you have I'm not even gonna, these people that have these arguments turn around and say, "Oh, you got all these games for Switch. You're a trash gamer because they have Monster Hunter and Bayonetta 2 and The Witcher and stuff like that." Like, that's another thing that they try to get you with. They try to say because of your diversity in games that you're not a true gamer. Because you're not playing the hardcore titles. You're not playing the Call of Duties every year. You're not playing the Maddens every year. You're not playing the freaking Halos whenever they come out, stuff like that. You're playing all these other games and getting your own enjoyment out of it. That's another. I always feel like I'm the killjoy when I come to these discussion topics because I immediately just nuke everybody's.
No, you're right. And the funny thing is that I play the hardcore games that everybody's familiar with all the stuff that they don't play. I own the Red Deads, I own the Grand Theft Autos, I own the Gears, I own God of Wars, I own the Halos, just like I own Mario and everything. Monster Hunter I own. Heck, I beat Anthem and was fine with it. Then most people have beat Anthem. I have beat the Division 2. That most people have it. No, I beat Destiny and Destiny 2, and I have my problems with the first Destiny. I love Destiny 2. Corey could attest to that. I need to play it more. I'm looking for Beyond Light, and so everything that other people. I went out and paid my $60 to get Modern Warfare, the new one, and I played that, and I was just like, I give props to Activision and the team who made this. I think Advanced Warfare is a great game with Call of Duty. Like, I play a lot of stuff that people have bigged up and used for example.
Man, I remember having such a awesome experience with Battlefield Hardline. Having an amazing. It was a different take, and I enjoyed it. Even though I will always have the fondest memories of the Battlefield series when it comes to Bad Company.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I'm so mad I never got to experience that game. I know I think is it Bad Company 2 that's like the highest rated?
Yeah, it's the highest rated, but I tell you what, just the ad campaign they went on for the first Bad Company was what got me to get it.
Yeah, oh goodness. Heck, shoot, playing Medal of Honor Frontline on the GameCube got me into the Medal of Honor series and stuff like that. So my thing with I think my thing was, yes, I am a big Nintendo fan. I would defend and fight for Nintendo, even though the company don't owe me anything, because I grew up with Nintendo.
Oh no. You got dirt on somebody, man, because you talked all that trash about a Zelda game coming in, and 2 days later there was an announcement for the freaking Hyrule game, the Hyrulean Kingdom game, and I'm like, wait, what? Is this real life right now?
But
who do you have dirt on? I'm going to keep asking you this until you tell me. Who do you have dirt on over at Nintendo?
Okay,
because
so
somebody's in your got somebody in your pocket right now.
So the thing about the Hyrule Warrior thing is that because Hyrule Warrior sold 800,000 copies, people thought, like, what is this crazy game? I'm not going to buy this because it's a Warriors game. No one has really touched the Warrior series at all. Kobe Tecmo Nintendo does it with Zelda. I'm like, I'm gonna pay my $60 and I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna see what it is. The butt rock music, the cutscenes, the story, beating up all of these enemies, and it's so fast paced, but so fun that everybody, even on Twitter and Facebook, was just talking about it. So that was a good talk. Now, the thing about it is
they did something different with the really stale idea of the Dynasty Warriors franchise, because I mean, what number were we at on Dynasty Warriors? Like 29?
I think because the last game, Dynasty Warriors, the last Dynasty Warriors got so much questionable content. I don't even know who owns it. Yes, the Gundam Warrior one I need to find and play. They said that one was good. And Fist of the North Star one they did also.
There's a Dynasty Warriors game for Fist of the North Star?
Yes, there is.
See, this takes me back to being like that 13-year-old that saw anime for the first time. Now, like, I need to find this. We're getting off topic. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's just like okay, so I will admit I have put the 360 down. Like, I talked crazy amount of stuff about that system, and that was due to the fact of the red ring, and it was more about the system, never about the games. That's why I went with PlayStation 3. But when PlayStation 4 came out, I knocked Sony about that. I'm like, this thing looks like a Kit Kat bar, and it looks like a George Foreman grill that I could throw some meat on. I don't like the design of the system, but yes, Xbox One looked like the VCR, but the design-wise, it looked sexy. I was going to get both because not only am I a podcaster, because I'm a gamer, and I know that there's going to be some experience that Sony could give me that no one else can. Vice versa for Xbox and vice versa for Nintendo. And I think a lot of people don't see that these companies give you experiences if you're going to invest into them.
Here's what I'm gonna say. The average gamer, when you look at the price of the hardware and stuff like that, the average gamer can only typically go one way. This is why a lot of people like either pick sides and go with Microsoft, or they pick sides and they go with Sony, or they pick sides and go with Nintendo. A lot of it's driven by like what they can do and where their experiences are lying at. This is what I talk a monumental amount of crap about Nintendo fanboys, but I tell you what, they're loyal to Nintendo, and when Nintendo says jump, they're going to ask how high and where do we need to do it. Things like that. But I think it can also be said about the Xbox fanboys and stuff like that. Trust me, even though Halo Infinite had this really lukewarm reception, there are Microsoft fans that are devoted to it, and they will get it no matter what. Just like Sony fanboys. Right now, I want to say that I think Horizon feels like the unofficial spokesperson for Sony right now. That's the way I feel, because for the longest time it was Uncharted.
Yeah.
And now it looks like Horizon is a thing, and just seeing everybody's reactions about how about the new Horizon game, it's just like, oh, that's your system seller. It doesn't matter if you bring it out at launch or halfway through the cycle. That's your system seller right there.
It's going to be curious to me exactly how, so we know Horizon's a trilogy, and that's at least Aloy's story in Horizon is a trilogy. So it's like, okay, if Forbidden West ends up coming out, I'm still thinking it's going to launch like March of next year, right? I think that's a fairly reasonable expectation. How long until the next one? Because yes, they built a whole new map for this one, But like, do you wait until the PS6, whenever that might be, or do you wait until the end of the PS5?
This kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. And I think it was in last week's Boss Rush podcast. I was saying earlier that basically we're getting to a point now to where games flex and they go from one console to the next. It used to be unheard of. Usually if it was a trilogy, usually a trilogy started on a console and it ended on that same console. Of course, like games like Kingdom Hearts kind of blew our expectations because it took 2 whole console generations for us to finally get the whole story.
No, it didn't. It took 17,000 games on 3DS and PSP. It didn't the nonsense that 2 was to get to 3.
Oh, okay. You know what? Here comes the designated at LeRon on Twitter. Here we go, because here it comes. All right, so Kingdom Hearts was poised to be one of the greatest gaming franchises ever. Like, it was a mixture of Final Fantasy and Disney, and it was an RPG, and it played differently than most of their RPGs that Square Enix had done to date. The problem was, okay, Kingdom Hearts 1 comes out, phenomenal game. Kingdom Hearts 2 comes out, really good game. A little bit harder than the original one. A little bit harder than the original. And then they're like, we're finishing the story on the next series of consoles. So PS3 and Xbox 360. It could have been either way, because it sounded like at the time that they were thinking about multi-releasing them on both platforms. Right. But there were a lot of this goes on Square's development. Square was trying to get the big push for Final Fantasy 13 and of course Final Fantasy 15 and stuff like that. They had projects going on. Things were going out of favor of them, so they started releasing the portable games. And I remember originally, I can't remember which the first. It was one of the Game Boy Advance portable games. They told you that this was not going to be indicative on the story, meaning that what you play in the game is not going to be, is not going to have anything to do majorly with the story. And as more and more handheld games came out in that franchise, it was like, yeah, you don't have to play the main game to get this, but all of a sudden, when we start leading up to, like, I want to say Birth by Sleep. Birth by Sleep was the first game they turned around and said, okay, this is part of the storyline. Play this. You need to play this.
Okay.
358 over 2 wound up being another one.
This is the crazy thing. That Game Boy Advance one, they used that as an excuse to lead in part 2. I'm like, wait a minute. No. Yeah. This can't happen. I'm like, Organization 13 was never talked about in any of the Kingdom Hearts that I know of.
But like, okay, how much does the one bad game in the franchise affect your entire view of the franchise as a whole? Like, I know people who aren't a huge fan of Uncharted 3. Now, granted, I think all 4 games are phenomenal, and I think Lost Legacy is probably one of the most solid additions ever. But like, when a game has a really bad entry in it, Ed, you mentioned Advanced Warfare. I couldn't stand that game. I'm sorry, but like Call of Duty is so hit and miss. But when you look at like Call of Duty, for instance, they've had games that just are great, and then like Infinite Warfare sucked. How do you view those huge franchises when there's really bad ones in the franchise line?
Oh, I'll just say this
before you jump in, LeRon. Can I answer? Okay, so with Advanced Warfare, using an active example, it was the storyline that I liked, and sometimes the game could be problematic or have its problems, but if the storyline is good enough for me to carry through, so I could see through, because Max Payne 3 is like one of the best stories from the Max Payne series. Yeah. Like, I love that game. They could do the backstory and past, present. They could do all of that because that story flows so good. Kingdom Hearts was so confusing. What is the fact that they did all the side stuff on the handheld and then connected to the main stories?
Told you it didn't really matter if you play these or not, because it was just all like just stuff that took place in the universe but wasn't like part of the story. And then next thing you know, they start releasing these collections. It's like, oh, they're all part of the story. It's like, excuse me, you're telling me I have to go play the music game on the mobile devices?
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that kind of like basically had me fall out of love with Kingdom Hearts. And like I said, you guys can at me on Twitter if you want to have a discussion about this, because this is the way I feel about it. Like Square's Square's hokey pokey with that series is the reason why a lot of people, by the time we got to Kingdom Hearts 3, a lot of people did not really care for it. The game also underperformed because they made bad decisions with that game itself.
Right.
And
Kingdom Hearts 3 was supposed to be running on the Luminous engine that Square Enix themselves created. But because that wasn't working, they went to Unreal Engine 4. And then the same thing that happened with Final Fantasy 15 is that it was everything that Square Enix was supposed to be was supposed to be running on their own engine. So they don't have to pay
you got to remember, Final Fantasy 15 was technically a game called Final Fantasy Versus 13.
13, yes. And they had that game all ready to go and had to shelve it and redo everything. And
they had it because they pulled development assets from Kingdom Hearts from the Kingdom Hearts 3 studio to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you know, good question about like how does a bad game in a franchise affect overall?
Yeah.
My argument to this is like, man, like look at all those bad Tomb Raider games, and Tomb Raider is rocking and rolling.
Yeah, that's fair.
Man.
That what is it? What was the one that came on PS2 before they did a reboot? Was it like Angel of Darkness?
Because I look at Assassin's Creed as a kind of a perfect example of how you can also redeem your name after a couple bad games too. Because you look at like what was the American Revolution one? What was that one called?
That's Black. Was that Black? No, Black Flag was the Pirates.
Is it Liberation with the girl, or is it Assassin's Creed 3 when they were with the Native American?
Something like that. You know, that game was awful, and you know, right after I'm very blunt. It's just how I am. Sorry. Then, you know, Black Flag was a good stepping stone. But then, you know, Ubisoft is like, hey, let's just reset the whole thing. And let's build a game that we actually care about. And that was when, you know, we started to get Origins and Odyssey, and now we're getting Valhalla. Post really, I mean, Black Flag was a great game, but like post Black Flag, I think we've gotten two of the best games so far in the Assassin's Creed series with Origin and Odyssey.
And a lot of that is the Mega Man sequelitis thing, where every year it comes out, and that dilutes the franchise and the excitement for it. Because the thing about it is sometimes the stuff feels like it's copy and paste, and then there's other times it just overall feels cheap.
I have this chorus like, who gave us this game that nobody asked for?
So and I think to even go from there, Logan, I think some people use those, like if a game has, whether it's good or it's bad, they use that for a console war arguments to be like, no, this game it didn't sell well and it got all these bad reviews, so that's why your system sucked. And my system have all of these games and it sold this, and they're above 80 with Metacritic and the stuff, and it's just like, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, so you're praising God of War. Do you own God of War? Nope. Then why are you using that as an example? You got a game that you haven't played.
Oh no, you mean the posers,
the haters.
Yes. And so it's like, and yes, I'm fine with everybody getting on Nintendo and talking about their games, talking about their business model, talking about their online. If it feels warranted, it's warranted, and everything. I have my reasons for it, but you cannot deny that Nintendo, regardless of what people think of them, they do their best to bring out some good quality stuff, and they try to make things fun. They try to make it where it's not about the console war. It's not about having the biggest and greatest game. It's about you just being able to pick up and play a game and enjoy it. And if you want to talk with friends, let that talk be the marketing for that game. You know, you can have everything in 4K 60 frames per second, but what if that thing has bugs and looking like Assassin's Creed Unity when it first came out?
You mean where everybody looked like that ending scene of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Last Ark?
Yeah. You know, and it's just like I think with the console, wherever you playing that, even with, I always tell around this, but even with PC, is that I feel like there's a unity right now, and everybody's trying to get to the fact where console wars is not important. Play wherever you want to play and play it wherever you can. Microsoft is doing a great job with Game Pass, doing it with Game Pass Ultimate. They're going to do a fantastic job with Series S for people who have that and they want to do it. Definitely with xCloud, because right now when Corey sent me that story about the Apple thing, how they like will let them do streaming, but they got to make an app for each game for it to be reviewed. That's a whole other discussion. But you know, being able to allow Steam players to play stuff that Microsoft is going to release. If you don't want to play on Windows 10 or Xbox, you can play Gears of 5 or Gear 6 on Steam, and that's fantastic. If you want to play Detroit Become Human and you don't own PlayStation, Sony made it available on PC, because don't forget that role-playing game that Sony did, that MMO that they had to stop making, that was a tragedy.
Detroit could be a great game on Twitch too. I've been thinking about that recently.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like that was pushing any like crazy graphical bounds or anything. Like that's a game, you know, like shoot, bring it out.
That'd be a great game on Switch. I'd totally play that while I'm waiting on renders.
If I didn't have a PlayStation 4 by the time Detroit Become Human came out, that would have been the game that got it.
Yep.
Got that system for me. But yeah, everybody, any last thoughts or anything about this discussion?
Stop being immature. The game console wars, come on, that's so 2012.
Yes. And like LeRon said, you know, console wars, yeah, everybody can have it, but the best way to play is on PC.
Exactly. Winning.
But you also have to have the expensive
winning.
But you also have to have the expensive graphics card and everything.
Oh, that is
I will never get into PC. Like, I just got a new Mac Mini this morning, and I'm like, you know what? I only have to upgrade you like once every 5 years, maybe. I don't have to.
Hold on. I don't go through that. I don't go through that many graphics cards in that small amount of time. As a matter of fact, this 3080 is probably going to be the first time I've thought about upgrading my graphics card in like 4 years.
I ain't bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
You already know that I'm going to be like, once you get it, I'm probably going to leave work so I could come home. Be like, stream.
I'm going to be streaming all sorts of games. As a matter, you guys are going to think I'm going to have ADD on Twitch because I'm going to be like, ooh, what's this game? Ooh, what's this game?
You already know my Twitch. My Twitch thing is already going to be on point looking. I
was playing Monster Hunter last night, and I was playing with a friend, and he was like, well, what's your hardware right now? I'm like, I'm running a GTX 1080 Ti. And he's like, did you have you been doing any mods for the actual graphics? I was like, no. And he's like, wow.
Yes, because I want to see how Destiny looks with that 3080. I want to be like.
I might not be the player. I might not be the player for that one. But
you have Game Pass.
See how Horizon
yeah, I do. I do have it on Game Pass. I just installed Tell Me Why. So
good. So side thing about Tell Me Why. I need to buy it now because I think it's only 3 episodes, and I was waiting for everything to drop. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to buy it straight out because I want to see what this whole game is about and does it live up to the hype.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I find I really enjoy games like this now. I mean, like, of course I played Heavy Rain, and of course I played Detroit, and of course I played some of the other games that had that same style. But I'm actually, I'm now kicking myself. I'm like, man, why didn't I just play Life is Strange? You know, like why wasn't I playing those games? Like it's basically the same vein of game. So yeah. So I'm probably going to start and Tell Me Why soon. It might wind up being on Twitch, even though I noticed there's a big Twitch thing going on right now for Tell Me Why anyway. So like it's probably like, oh, who's this guy trying to jump on this bandwagon?
Gosh, yeah.
Well, everybody, that is going to be it for Boss Rush Podcast. I want to thank Logan and LeRon, and shout out to Bossman for producing. Logan, where can we find you?
You can find me on Spotify and wherever you get your podcast at LAN Party, LAN Party, and then, of course, Twitter at Logan Corkins.
Yes, LeRon, where can we find you?
You can find me on social media at EXODUS803, X is 803. That's also my Twitch handle as well, and also my gamer tag. So you can find me in various places like PSN, Steam, and Xbox Live. And so that's basically it for me. Logan, thank you because I've seen some of the previous stuff that you're working on so I got my logos and my banners and stuff for my Twitch and YouTube channels now.
Yes.
And Logan's been working on his vacation doing some stuff like that. That's why I said I feel like a heel right now because the guy should be relaxing, but he was like hey, shoot me this stuff and let me see what I can play with. And man, it's freaking amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Yes. You guys
Pretty
can find
cool.
me on Twitter at that retrocode. You can check out Option Opinion on SoundCloud and other podcast apps. You can check more shows like Crossroads, Nintendo Power Block, 1v1, Arsenal X, Bossfish Podcast, Recap, which we're going to be coming, more episodes going to be recorded, so you guys are going to be able to watch that. Me and my friend are going to be watching No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan.
Oh, God.
That is going to be an episode. Also, me and Jesse are going to be trying to watch Airplane, the movie, and I'm going to have to bring LeRon back because we finally have to do I'm going to Get You Sucker.
Yes.
I cannot wait to recap that episode. And we also got other content I posted on my Twitch page. On my Twitter page. Some classic content for our Pod and Play for Horizon Zero Dawn. So go to our YouTube page, our Boss Rush Games, and check out a lot of our past content also. With that, everybody, have a great week. Have a great weekend. And we will see you next time on Boss Rush Podcast. Bye, everybody.
Take care.